Megan, a qualified practical nurse, has always taken delight in caring for people with a kind touch and a warm heart. I live in suburban paradise with my spouse Justin. Bruno, our loving German shepherd, lives with Justin, an engineer who loves carpentry, and me. Our days are routine. Justin works, I nurse, and Bruno keeps the house active. Under this calm veneer, a storm was developing that would threaten my self-image and marriage. Morning started with our daily symphony. Our collegiate alarm clock buzzed at 6. Justin, the early riser, would stretch, kiss my forehead, and start coffee in the kitchen. Before getting ready for the day, I'd enjoy the sheet's warmth for a few more minutes. Bruno, anticipating his morning walk, would run over with his tail wagging. I watched Justin go down our quiet street from the kitchen window, his figure shrinking as he departed for work. I started a new chapter after his departure. I'd prepare for my hospital shift, where I'd ease others' pain and concerns while forgetting my own. However, today felt different. Like the stillness before a storm, the air was dense with unsaid tension. I had a strange feeling, maybe a premonition, that things was about to change. I thought it was exhaustion from a long week, but I knew it was more. As usual, the hospital was chaotic, but today every patient needed me more. I was thinking about the morning's tiny anomalies. Justin seemed preoccupied, kissed goodbye quickly, and didn't look at me. Was I overthinking it? Or was he concealing something? My house was empty after my shift. Bruno welcomed me with his customary enthusiasm, but my gloom couldn't be lifted. I did tasks to avoid feeling uneasy. Dinner was alone. Though Justin often worked late, his absence felt greater tonight. I heard my phone buzz at the kitchen table. Message from unknown number. Probably should know about Justin. My heart jumped. Who was this? They knew what... My mind raced with more unpleasant ideas as I glanced at the screen. I tried calling Justin, but got voicemail. The house's silence heightened my concerns. I waited to see if he would explain or expose this mysterious message at home. Minutes turned into hours, each tick a reminder of the unknown. I drank wine to calm down. Bruno, seeing my sadness, laid his head on my lap, his eyes worried. Finally, the front door opened. Justin entered with a blank expression. He looked at me and then at my phone, so I knew he saw the message. He continued, "Megan, we need to talk quietly and defeated." The ground shifted beneath me. My life and trust and love were about to be tested in ways I never anticipated. However, a seemingly harmless day would lead to an incident that would rock our lives. An ordinary Saturday. Justin went to a woodworking fair, leaving me at home to relax. Bruno could run freely in our fenced backyard, so I took him on a walk. The air was full with floral perfume and pleasant sunshine. Bruno was happy chasing his tail and playing with his favorite toy. I watched him and felt tranquility and restlessness which I couldn't place. I focused on the day's beauty to calm down. Justin's care paid off with a blooming garden. I remembered him spending hours pruning and planting, his hands smeared with earth instead of his engineer's immaculate hands. I approached the rose bushes, their bright hues a sharp reminder of our life together. Today their beauty couldn't mask my growing feeling that something was wrong. Bruno, ever observant, nudged my palm with his wet nose to reassure me. Scratching behind his ears, I smiled softly. "I hope so, buddy," I said to myself. Silence filled the home when I returned. Steam rose in soft curls from my drink, echoing my mental anguish. My thoughts were clouded by the unknown number's message. Who could it be? A Justin colleague, an old pal. Maybe someone I didn't know existed. I was at the kitchen table with my phone, the screen black, but the message still fresh in my mind. I wasn't ready to respond. Instead, I opened my laptop to browse mindlessly, but my thoughts kept returning to Justin. His rushed departure this morning, his distracted posture, and his eye avoiding. Was he hiding something? The day extended, leaving long shadows on the floor as the windows changed brightness. I checked my phone every few minutes, half anticipating another message or a Justin call explaining everything. There was nothing. The silence was oppressive, weighing my doubts and concerns. I distracted myself with gardening, which Justin and I did often. I felt connected to him and our shared life as I pulled weeds in the flower beds. Even in our shelter, calm was transient. Every leaf ruffle and distant automobile sound made me jump, nerves strained. The sun sank, coloring the sky orange and pink, contrasting with my inner turmoil. I arrived home with soiled hands and a heavy heart. Bruno followed, tail wagging less. He felt my pain and remained loyal. The front door opened as I prepared to ring Justin again. His face was unreadable when he entered. He looked at me and then at my phone, so I knew he saw the message. He continued, "Megan, we need to talk quietly and defeated." My heart raced. The moment of truth arrived. Justin breathed deeply, about to speak, and I braced myself. What began as a quiet day became unexpected. Later in the afternoon, I lay on the grass watching the clouds. The sky was gentle blues and whites, each cloud a brief idea and mute witness of my anguish. Fun-loving Bruno nudged his toy into my hand. Unlike the human complexity I was facing, his eyes shone with the innocence of a creature who knows only love and loyalty. A fun encounter changed something. In that quiet yard, the loneliness hit me harder than usual. Bruno's presence was comforting, a reminder that loyalty could still exist in a world full of doubt. But I also realized I had crossed an emotional line, not with him, but with myself. I remembered how lost I felt in that moment. In a world full of secrets and falsehoods, there was a yearning for connection and purity. Disoriented, seeking comfort in any form. But instead of clarity, I found a storm of regret that haunted me long aft. Long shadows appeared to reach me like judgment as the sun set. I sat up, my pulse racing from physical exertion and the understanding of what I had done. Bruno continued to play, tail wagging his toy discarded in the grass, unaware of the severity of the occasion. I stood up, feeling my actions weigh me down. The garden, once a refuge, now witnessed my sin. Walking back inside the home, my steps were heavy, reflecting my mental anguish. The terrible silence inside was filled with my doubts and concerns. My thoughts were chaotic as I poured another glass of wine, which swirled. My thoughts were clouded by the unknown number's message. Who could it be? A Justin colleague? An old pal? Maybe someone I didn't know existed. The day extended, leaving long shadows on the floor as the windows changed brightness. I checked my phone every few minutes, half anticipating another message or a Justin call explaining everything. There was nothing. The silence was oppressive, weighing my doubts and concerns. I distracted myself with gardening, which Justin and I did often. As I pulled weeds in the flower beds, I felt connected to him and our shared life. Even in our shelter, calm was transient. Every leaf ruffle and distant automobile sound made me jump, nerves strained. The sun sank, coloring the sky orange and pink, contrasting with my inner turmoil. I arrived home with soiled hands and a heavy heart. Bruno followed, tail wagging less. He felt my pain and remained loyal. The front door opened as I prepared to ring Justin again. His face was unreadable when he entered. He looked at my phone and confirmed that he had seen the message. He continued, "Megan, we need to talk quietly and defeated." My heart raced. The moment of truth arrived. Justin breathed deeply, about to speak, and I braced myself. "I've been hiding something from you," he said, avoiding me. "Not knowing how to tell you, but it's time." We felt the walls closing in as his words hit home. He whispered, "I've been seeing someone else." The world shook. My breath seized in my throat and betrayal cut me like a knife. It seemed harsh that my activities with Bruno were ironic. I struggled with guilt as Justin lied. "Who's she?" I asked confidently, despite the turmoil inside. "It doesn't matter who she is," Justin replied, finally meeting my eyes with remorse and resignation. "What matters is that I erred and apologized." With dishonesty tainting our shared history, the quiet was dense with unspoken messages. Justin's confession and my own actions shifted the ground beneath me. "I need time," I muttered, feeling inadequate for the magnitude of our situation. Justin nodded, sad-faced. He left the room, his steps echoing in the empty space, saying, "I understand." As I sat alone with my thoughts, the wine glass was cold comfort. The day began with anxiety and a sense of change, and now I was on the brink of a new reality. My activities with Bruno and Justin's infidelity formed a picture of a life unraveling, where morality and fidelity were confused. Each clock tick reminded him of the uncertainty as the night went on. I had another glass of wine to calm down. Bruno, seeing my sadness, laid his head on my lap, his eyes worried. Only his loyalty felt real and trustworthy at that moment. As the darkness deepened, I knew the coming days would be filled with decisions, disclosures, and the terrible process of stitching together our existence. The brief deed with Bruno revealed a side of myself I had never acknowledged, now inextricably linked to Justin's betrayal. This day broke the borders of love, devotion, and betrayal, changing my life forever. The events began to sink in. I was overtaken by guilt, bewilderment, and treachery toward Justin. Every time I looked at Bruno, I was reminded of the emotional breakdown I had that day, how far I had fallen, not because of him, but because I had lost control of myself. I spent the night numbly processing my actions. Justin returned from the expo with anecdotes, unaware of my heartache. Though I was disintegrating inside, I smiled, nodded, and pretended everything was fine. House felt strange air tense. Every floorboard groan and wind whisper echoed my inner despair. I set the table for dinner and heated up the leftovers while my mind replayed the afternoon. While recounting his day, Justin's voice was a distant hum, and his eyes were ablaze with excitement about new equipment and skills. I tried to respond and chuckle, but my comments were hollow. His words cut through my painstakingly maintained facade like a dagger. "Are you okay, Megan?" Justin eventually inquired, frowning. "You seem off." My mouth corners trembled as I faked a smile. "Guess I'm exhausted. Day at the hospital was long." He nodded, accepting my apology, but his gaze lingered too long, as if searching for more in my eyes. I turned away and scrubbed dishes, trembling my hands. The water was excessively hot, yet I scarcely noticed. While eating, the stillness was dense with unspoken words. Justin's uneasiness grew as he watched me. My taste was bland and my hunger gone as I picked at my food. My gut was heavy with shame, making every meal feel like a betrayal. Justin suggested a small movie after supper to relax. I accepted, believing it would divert me, but every scene and interaction mirrored my life's drama. I sat next to him, brains apart, but bodies near. I let him take my hand, the warmth of his touch contrasting with my frigid apprehension. Justin looked at me softly when the movie concluded. "Megan, tell me what's bothering you. We've always been up front." His words gutted me. Our marriage was built on honesty, but now we disagree. I swallowed hard, the confession on my tongue, but nothing came out. However, I kissed him to forget myself in his familiar embrace and rediscover some normalcy. Though we kissed, the afternoon haunted my mind. A betrayal veiled in affection, the kiss seemed false. I recoiled, my breath unsteady, my heart racing from terror, not desire. I stood abruptly and said, "Justin, I need air." The cold night air soothed my hot skin as I headed to the backyard. The stars overhead were oblivious to my suffering, their brightness distant and frigid. Bruno followed me out silently, reminding me of my transgression. As I sat on the steps, he lay alongside me, his head on my lap, his eyes full of pure love that suddenly felt burdensome. Each stroking of his fur reminded me of what I had done and crossed. How could I tell Justin a smothering thought? How could I live with this secret, knowing it may destroy everything we built? The night was quiet, but my thoughts were full of remorse, terror, and bewilderment. I had to decide whether to confess, bear the weight of my acts, or keep it hidden, hoping time would heal what I thought was irreversibly wounded. My decision will shake our marriage like an earthquake. As the night deepened, I realized that the peace I had always taken for granted was gone. I was at the center of the storm I had sensed coming, divided between my love for Justin and my shame for my deeds. I created a fog that hid the future. One thing was certain. My next steps would determine my connection with Justin and my self-worth. The night went on, each tick of the clock a reminder of the unknown and the choices that will either mend or break our delicate lives. Next day, anxiety was evident. Justin felt odd but couldn't pinpoint it. I tried to act normally, but every interaction felt fake. The morning routine was a silent dance with mechanical movements and avoiding eye contact. My kitchen smelled like coffee, but the discomfort lingered like a fog. Justin remained at the table, his newspaper unread, his gaze lost. He kept an eye on me as I moved, but he swiftly looked aside when I turned. Silence was deafening heavy with our whispered realities. I collapsed under my secret. The coffee mug I was holding fell to the floor, sounding like a gunshot throughout the house. Justin jumped, his eyes wide with fear, and I knew it was time. "I need to tell you something." I trembled, beginning to cry. I sat across from him, the broken cup a symbol for our broken lives. Justin looked confused and hurt, his normal warmth replaced by a chilly, detached gaze. "What's it, Megan?" A whispered question was asked. I breathed deeply, words catching in my throat. "Yesterday, during the exhibition, I did something I can't explain and am ashamed of." My voice broke, and I looked down, reluctant to face him. Justin's stillness was scarier than any shout. He sat with his fists clasped and knuckles white. I was lonely and confused. Continued words rushed forth. Bruno was there, and I faltered and crossed a line I never thought I would. Suffocating confession hovered in the air. Justin's face didn't alter as he tried to digest the information and fit it into his reality. "You?" With Bruno, disbelief and disgust filled his barely heard words. Yes, tears flowing down my face. "I'm sorry, Justin. What happened to me? It was insane to feel alienated from everything, especially you." Justin suddenly rose his chair, smacking the floor. He approached the window with his back to me and shoulders tight. "Not sure what to say, Megan. I'm surprised." The room felt encroaching. I wanted to touch and explain, but guilt paralyzed me. "I understand if you can't forgive me," I whispered hollowly. He turned and looked at me, possibly for the woman he believed he knew. "I cheated too, Megan." He admitted, "I've been seeing someone else." His voice firm, but his eyes showing his inner agony. I saw the irony. Our marriage was crumbling under our secrets as we confessed to betrayals. Now would I ask the question haunting us? Justin shook his head slowly. "No idea. I need time to think." "We both do." His speech seemed remote, as if he was processing this new reality somewhere. He left the kitchen, leaving me with our morning routine, the broken mug and the broken trust. Sitting there in quiet, our confession's consequences weighed me down. Each minute felt like an eternity as the day went on. While cleaning up the house like a ghost, my thoughts replayed our talk and confessions. Bruno, sensing the strain, rested his head on my lap as I stared into space on the couch. Justin reappeared as the sun fell, spreading sweeping shadows across the room. He sat with me, soothing and hurting. "Megan, we need to figure out what we want and what we can salvage from this." He added, his voice softer and sadder. I nodded, feeling the weight of our history and love, now tarnished by deceit. "I want to try," I whispered. "I want to know why we both went astray, and if anything is salvageable." Justin tentatively took my hand. "We'll discuss everything, but I need time to consider." As the night deepened, I knew the days ahead would be full with painful conversations and disclosures that may heal or ruin us. I was at the center of the storm I had sensed coming, divided between my love for Justin and my shame for my deeds. The future was clouded by our own actions. One thing was certain: our next steps would determine our relationship and self-worth. The night went on, each tick of the clock a reminder of the unknown and the choices that will either mend or break our delicate lives. With the truth out, what would happen to our marriage? Following our confessions was like standing in a hurricane. After the hurricane, the wreckage was everywhere, making our life together unrecognizable. Justin and I sat in the counseling office, the antiseptic space contrasting with our pandemonium. Our therapist, a compassionate woman with a soft voice, guided us through our feelings. She began, "I want us to explore betrayal." Her words metered to allow our anguish. "Megan, how did Justin's adultery affect you?" My betrayal weighed on me as I inhaled. It felt like my world was falling apart. I lost unconditional trust in him. Considering what I did with Bruno, I feel like I betrayed myself. Justin shuffled uneasily beside me. "I'm guilty of my conduct and realize I've wounded Megan," he replied quietly. "It's confusing to hear about Bruno. We seem mired in shame and treachery." The therapist nodded, seemingly comprehending. These feelings must be acknowledged. Betrayal, guilt, and forgiveness are complicated, especially when both sides feel mistreated. We spent hours in that room peeling back our connection and scrutinizing our actions. Justin discussed his infidelity, feeling alienated and trying to feel alive and seen. I described my loneliness, how I felt isolated even while we were together, and how Bruno's moment was a mistaken attempt to connect. "New boundaries are needed," the therapist said. "Now, what is trust to you both?" My trust had always been about fidelity, but now it was about honesty and sharing our deepest thoughts. Justin added, "It's about being deeply present with each other physically and emotionally." Our sessions were a refuge where we could face our ugly behaviors without criticism. We learned to listen to one another's anguish and the silent calls for aid that had gone unnoticed for too long. Bruno, our innocent bystander in this marital drama, symbolized our struggle. Unlike the human issues we were facing, his loyalty and love were unconditional. We started taking him on walks to chat, rebuild, and find some normalcy in the devastation. Justin commented one evening as we watched Bruno chase a squirrel that Bruno doesn't judge. "Maybe we can learn unconditional love from that." Justin's warm hand on mine made me nod. Yes, to forgive ourselves and others. The travel was arduous, and I wondered if we would ever meet again. On some evenings, the silence felt like strangers sharing a bed. We redefined love slowly through pain. It was about understanding and learning from the past. We began with warmth and apologies that promised improvement. Justin told me about his day anxieties and dreams, and I listened with my heart. My fears and need for reassurance were met with tolerance and understanding. The therapist suggested using new methods to rebuild physical and emotional intimacy. "What were your hobbies before this one session?" she asked. Justin mentioned woodworking, rekindling his interest. Making home decor used to be fun. I added gardening, recalling the peace I found in nurturing life. Start a project together. That weekend we did it. We started planning a new garden bed after Justin set up a tiny garage workshop. We worked side by side, the silence now pleasant and filled with creation rather than devastation. Bruno, our loyal friend, laid between us, periodically tapping his tail in satisfaction. As weeks evolved into months, our connection changed. Like a seedling growing through the dirt, it was delicate yet growing. We laughed again, not at each other, but together, enjoying our recovery's modest achievements. This event always made us wonder if our marriage would survive. Some days the answer was obvious, others were murky. However, with each session and shared moment, we built something new, possibly stronger. Could our marriage survive this ordeal, or would it end? If you like the story, subscribe, like, and comment. This will help us write more interesting content.